Love my GoPro, but there are times when I wish it had a larger display, particularly doing things like time-lapse video. And with the Flint LXT, I think I found a solution. That is to take the HDMI out from the GoPro and into the Flint, and then the USB from the Flint into my laptop. And what you're going to see here is a video shot by my iPhone of just that setup. You'll forgive the quality of the video or the lack of quality as I'm holding the GoPro in my right hand, the iPhone in my left, and juggling the laptop on my knees. So I'm going to do the requisite unboxing here. I've already taken it out of the box, which says any video, any platform, anywhere. I think that's a little bit ambitious. While it works on Windows, Androids, Linux, Mac, it doesn't work on iPhone or iPad, and I think therefore to say any platform is a little bit of a stretch. But understand that I really like the product, and that's a minor criticism unless you're solely and strictly into iPhones and iPads. A useful card here to get you connected with their help desk, with their community, and with their chat function. And then this is the kind of setup manual, as limited as it is, because it's a very simple setup. Tells you to scan the QR code, which is great if you're using an Android. I had a lot of difficulty getting any kind of QR software to work on my laptop. Not their problem. That was a function of Windows and QR codes. But simply go to that URL and register, and you get the necessary activation code to fire up their software and the software download. From a connectivity perspective, this is the Flint LXT. It's very small and has only two connectors. It has a USB at one end and an HDMI at the other. The USB connector that you need to run is included. Plugs in, and I've got a USB there. If you want to use a USB-C, they have the adapter included, which is, I think, very nice on their part. And then if you're trying to record on an Android, the Android adapter is included as well. I'm going strictly Windows in this session, so this is all I need on that end. The only thing missing is the HDMI connector that would come from your Xbox or your set-top box or your GoPro or whatever it is, whatever source you're using. That HDMI, which is a standard HDMI, is not included. Really don't fault them for that, because you probably ought to have one. I wanted to be able to record off of my GoPro. I wanted to be able to see it on something larger than my screen on the back. So opening this little door here, which is fairly easy to remove, it flips out and flips off. A micro HDMI connector plugs in, and then I've got an HDMI out from my GoPro, and it runs in real time and plugs into my Flint into my laptop, fire up their software, their Helper Pro, and I've now got real-time display, and I'll show you this in just a minute, coming off of my GoPro on my laptop. Worked really well. I was very pleased with it, and being able to see on something other than this micro display on the GoPro. So that's the basic setup, and let me get you into the application here and some of the software. So we're looking out on the Atlantic. My iPhone is filming the display of my laptop. So what you're looking at is my laptop seeing what my GoPro is filming. GoPro's in my right hand, iPhone's in my left hand, and it's feeding through the Flint onto my laptop. So instead of looking at the silly little 2-inch display that the GoPro has, I'm able to see it on the 17-inch in full HD on my laptop. There are a number of other features and functions that the HTML Cloner Pro Helper app offers, but that's for another time. This is the filming of the filming of the filming of the filming. Hope this has been interesting. It's not just GoPros. I will be applying this to my Nikon as well, and the ability to see on something larger than the small displays I think is huge, although I will probably use a more permanent setup with one of the GoPro mounts on a Microsoft Surface tablet-like Windows device. So I've been traveling and I finally have my GoPro, my Flint, and my Microsoft Surface all in the same place at the same time, and I have used one of the GoPro mounts and some double-sided tape to attach it to my Surface. Same with the Flint, and it makes for a great setup. The only thing I would change would be the HDMI micro cable that I bought. It was about 6 feet long, and I need about 6 inches, and then it would be ideal. And while I'm using this on a Microsoft Surface Windows tablet, the cable that's included in the package is made to do the exact same thing with an Android tablet. So if you're an Android user, you're all set. You don't need to buy anything extra. For the Windows users, I had to buy an extra cable. It was about $8. Not very expensive. And again, I think it works really well. Very pleased. I wanted to take a minute and give a quick tour of the Helper Pro app, especially as in addition to the HDMI video recording capability, the Flint and Helper have a couple of interesting features. To focus on the Flint Helper Pro app, I am monitoring a live video feed, but it's a video feed of a still image, which should be less distracting. So first, there's the schedule recording function, top left here at the clock, which allows 4 unique start-stops, either during a single 24-hour period or every day. Kind of a poor man's PVR, which actually was my original application for my cloner box. Although incredibly simple, the ability to schedule a stop time, especially when using the Flint as a video recorder from your cable or set-top box, means that you can tell it to stop automatically at 1 hour and 48 minutes versus having to come back and manually stop, or end up with a video file that's 6 hours long and have to do some post-production editing. It's especially nice if the movie ends at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So bottom right is a volume control for the playback. And then there's this cogs, which is for setup. Amongst other things, the ability to set the screen capture resolution, the frame rate. Under capture, you can set different formats. I particularly like the AAC, as it's one of the few formats that will play off of my TV's USB port. Under picture, you can set the format for the picture capture. I'll show you that in just 1 second, to either JPEG, PNG, or bitmap. And then there's finally the VBS, or the video broadcast option, and we'll talk about that in a second, the ability to enable it and set the port. This is the screen capture. It grabs a single frame from the video that you're viewing. The GIF capture allows you to capture and automatically create an animated GIF. The record button to record the video has a pause function, which I think if you were trying to do some on-the-fly video editing or some rebroadcasting or some mixing between multiple cameras would be a nice feature, because you can stop the video, pause it as it were, and then restart the record. And then finally stop it. This takes you into full screen, Double click brings you back out of it. Full screen and back out of it. This is the video broadcast capability, which allows another device such as a phone or another tablet running VLC to remotely access the video stream running on the PC. And if you were to open your router port or to put the PC in a DMZ, this would actually allow a remote user to watch, say, your television feed, your cable box, or your satellite. You'd need to control the channel locally or get very creative. It's not quite a sling box. But as an example, my son loves our local pro football team but lives on the West Coast, and this would actually allow him to watch it remotely. And finally, there's a folders which takes you to the videos or the still images that you've recorded and captured. That's that GIF we just recorded a minute ago. Fairly simple, but I think very sufficient for what it needs to do. I really like the Cloner products. I think their customer service is top-notch, and it's highly recommended. Thanks.